The Gerald R. Ford International Airport in Kent County, Michigan has made tremendous progress in capital improvements over the previous 40 years to offer our community an efficient and reasonable form of air travel. The airport has been making extensive improvements and is currently in a strong marketing campaign to be acknowledged as the regional airport in the area. Significant improvements to parking, infrastructure, and airport traffic have created a beautifully modernized airport that we, as a community, can all be proud of. The beauty, however, appears to exist only on the surface, and important issues such as environmental stewardship, long-term master planning, and sustainability have been overlooked and continue to rank low on the airport's priority list. Of special consideration is the handling and management of stormwater runoff. Like all airports, the Federal Aviation Administration mandates that the Gerald R. Ford International Airport must have a program to seasonally de-ice airplanes during 8 months of the year. Aircraft Deicing Fluid, or ADF, is a chemical mixture used not only to de-ice the aircraft, but also to delay the reformation of ice for a certain period of time. The main ingredient in Gerald R. Ford International Airport's ADF is an organic compound identified as propylene glycol, or PG. PG is well known for its antifreeze properties, but it is also unique in that it serves as an alcohol solvent and reducing surfactant. In other words, PG has the ability to dissolve certain hazardous substances and break down large molecules, such as oil and grease, making them extremely mobile. This gives PG the ability to essentially absorb or carry almost anything it comes into contact with on the tarmac. The tarmac substances that can be mobilized by PG include oil, fuel, solvents, salts, fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides, metals, scrap rubber, and countless other products that contain hazardous substances. PG in itself is known to naturally degrade in both aerobic and anaerobic conditions, but the process is taxing on the surrounding environment. The compound maintains high levels of biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD. In essence, BOD is a food source for many of the organisms and plant life within a waterway. When an organism or plant uses the BOD, oxygen is consumed as part of the process. The problem with PG is that the oxygen depletion potential is 100 to 1,000 times greater than that of raw sewage. In other words, the amount of PG used during a single jet airplane de-icing event can be equivalent to the BOD loading of 1 million gallons of raw sewage. This causes dramatic degradation of water quality and disrupts the health of the ecosystem. Other related issues to PG in a waterway include extensive chemical and foul odors, turbidity, discoloration of waterways, foaming in the waterway, bioslime blooms, and the displacement or elimination of certain native aquatic species. While other airports have adopted on-site recovery and recycling technologies which can eliminate 60 to 90% of PG prior to hitting the surface water body, the Gerald R. Ford International Airport uses a different approach. After ADF is applied to the aircraft, the de-icing fluid flows over the concrete to one of the 46 catch basins on the airport tarmac. The airport reports that 1/3 of the PG is recovered through collection techniques at each of the valved catch basins. The other 2/3 of PG is unaccounted for, and a large percentage ends up discharging through the catch basins into a local surface water drain identified as Trout Creek. The Gerald R. Ford International Airport reports that it utilizes approximately 83,000 gallons of PG each year. The use of ADF is a critical element of airport safety, but what happens to the chemicals when they hit the tarmac? This is where the Gerald R. Ford International Airport differs from other airports that place a higher priority on environmental stewardship and sustainability. The headwaters of Trout Creek exist on the airport's property, and the tributary extends through a residential neighborhood and discharges at a recreational portion of the Thornapple River. As the surface water leaves the airport, it meanders through a natural channel that travels through the backyards of homes and neighborhoods. Numerous residential water wells exist within close proximity to Trout Creek. Other than a sewer discharge, the creek has served as an important source of water to the watershed users. Over 10 years ago, it was discovered that the glycols were contributing to the growth of bacterial slimes, more commonly referred to as biofilm, in Trout Creek. While the presence of biofilm itself in the creek is overwhelming at times, additional environmental conditions have been observed and documented. The observations included discoloration, blue-green turbidity, foaming, airport litter and debris, extensive erosion, and various chemical and foul odors. The odors are described as faintly chemical in some areas, and in other areas similar to that of rotten onions. In the sediments, the odor appears to be anaerobic and has been identified as extremely foul and repulsive. The airport has no significant stormwater flow and control mechanisms, and high levels of erosion were obvious in many upper portions of Natural Creek beyond the airport outfall. Sediment deposits exist as well as in the Thornapple River. These observations all show support for the claim that the creek remains impaired for more reasons than just biofilm, and any future design to fully mitigate these impacts will require special consideration. In January and February of 2012, the biofilm was documented to flourish, especially within the initial 1,000 feet between the CSX railway culvert pipe and the 36th Street Bridge, just beyond the inner airport runway security fence. The biofilm consisted of various things such as algae, biological growths, fungus, and many other unusual growths. The biofilm was colorful, with green algae blooms attached to rocks, white, gray, and reddish-orange biogrowths also clinging to rocks, algae, and substrate, an unknown orange fungus that adhered to rocks at the CSX spillway. Biofilm has also been reported in other sections of Trout Creek, especially amongst the residential properties downstream. During certain observation events, a blue-green turbidity was noted within the flow line portion of the stream extending to the Thornapple River as a plume. Black discoloration was also observed on the base of rocks in some areas of the creek bed, which, when churned up, were accompanied with extremely foul odors, indicative of anaerobic conditions. The sediments exhibited a dark discoloration and a similar anoxic odor approximately 1 to 2 inches below the surface. The black discoloration and odors were evidence of significant anaerobic activity. Foaming has also been observed in select areas of the creek during certain observation events. While some foaming can be considered natural, excessive and consistent foaming is a sign of impurities in the water, such as oils, fats, greases, and other chemicals. The fate and transport of other toxic tarmac substances, such as inorganic metallic constituents, has not been fully assessed. While the PG may break down and decay with little direct human toxicity, the dissolved or carrier chemicals will be conveyed and distributed within the creek system. The toxicity and risk assessment relating to the sediments is not understood and offers a considerable risk to the residential and recreational users of Trout Creek and the Thornapple River systems. The hydraulic connectivity between residential drinking water wells and the creek and river system remains unassessed as well. Under the current stormwater discharge permit, the Gerald R. International Airport is responsible for only monitoring the flow volume, chemical oxygen demand, or COD, and pH concentrations in the creek. The permit does not have discharge limits or controls. The airport can essentially discharge any concentration or quantity at any flow rate at any time under the current permit. The current design does not significantly consider sediment traps, oil-water separation, equalization, which is allowing the PG to mix with other marginally impacted water prior to discharge, or control for the flow rate. The significant erosion observations appear to directly relate to the inability to control the flow rate and volume emanating from the airport property. If the Gerald R. Ford International Airport wishes to proclaim themselves as the regional airport, they must reassess their priorities and responsibility to the community. The Kent County Aeronautics Board has recently proclaimed that we have the chance to design and ultimately build a stormwater control alternative that will improve the airport's environmental performance. The airport's only sincere initiative, however, was to design a solution as inexpensive as possible that would only address the biofilm issue in Trout Creek. The airport's conceptual design offers a $15 million pipeline that will directly divert the headwaters of Trout Creek along a secluded section of airport and MDOT property into the Thornapple River. The MDEQ stormwater permit only required that the airport permanently eliminate their contribution to the biofilm issue in Trout Creek. The plan does not offer any guarantees that any of these issues won't be observed again at the new discharge location. This plan lacks any consideration for reasonable engineering design input and does not solve the myriad of other problems associated with this particular stormwater discharge. The conceptual plan only includes a direct diversion and contains no details on reducing, minimizing, and eliminating source material. For many years, the Gerald R. Ford International Airport has been allowed to discharge untreated ADF and uncontrolled volumes into Trout Creek without having to account meaningfully for the adverse impacts on the Trout Creek tributary. Through a recent stormwater discharge permit condition, the MDEQ has prompted and supported the airport to pursue an underdeveloped conceptual plan which will have a direct and potentially dramatic impact on the Thornapple River watershed. The public has had no voice, and only a handful of environmentally conscious advisors have been included in the conceptual design process. Various river associations, neighborhood associations, and environmental groups have been meeting with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the Gerald R. Ford International Airport to help define the full scope of this issue. The Michigan Department of Environmental Quality supports the airport's conceptual design, however, is also trying to collect additional information to determine whether other significant issues may require consideration. Both the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the airport acknowledge certain deficiencies in the conceptual design and in the permit, however are relentlessly moving forward with the current plan. The Thornapple River watershed needs to respond and force a long-term, sustainable design that is suitable for all groups of the watershed. All of the members of the Thornapple River watershed should have a voice and consideration for the future of this system. If you wish to assist and support our watershed, please visit the Cascade Thornapple River Association website at www.cascadethornapple.org or the Thornapple River Association at www.damowners.org to learn more about the issues and how you can help.